Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, remember Fork Parker's Crunch Out? It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. Mark, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy New Year's, Patrick.
And a Happy New Year's to you.
You know, I can sincerely say
Yes.
that I had so much fun doing this show in 2019.
Me too.
And I am really looking forward to seeing what we do in 2020. And, thank you to all of our listeners. This has been, such a good year for the show. And it's really been so much in part to you guys.
Yeah, we've done a lot of fun things because you have enabled us to do fun things. That music tournament would not have happened
At all.
without you guys writing in.
And suggesting it even as an idea.
Great point. Anytime we get listener involvement in the show is just so much more fun and exciting. And I love doing it, and I love doing it with you, Mark.
Me too.
Good. Great. I'm glad that we feel good about this. Happy New Year. You gonna stay up till midnight, do you think, or are you gonna fall asleep before midnight?
No, I like going to bed early when possible.
I like going to bed early when possible too. And if it's like a holiday,
Even better.
yeah, no one can even track me. But if you don't want to go to bed too early, you want to stay up late playing Sonic Forces, you can if you borrow it from me.
Yeah, I can think of no better way to ring in the new year than getting on the waiting list.
Yeah, get
to
on
play
that.
Sonic Forces.
Get on that waiting list. Email us at Nintendo Cartridge Society
At gmail.com.
with a mailing address, and we will send it there to you to play for as long as you want. Then you send it back.
It costs you absolutely nothing.
Not a thing.
Actually, maybe I can think of one thing better
Yeah.
than signing up for the Sonic Forces borrowing program, and that's leaving us a review
Oh, yeah.
on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Right. So we made it our goal to get a bunch of reviews by the end of the year. The end of the year is upon us. You can use this as an excuse so you don't have to go out tonight. Be like, I'm sorry, I have to leave some reviews
I have to
for
craft
podcasts I
the
listen to.
perfect review. I mean, the dirty secret of all this is we're going to love reviews in 2020 too.
Oh, yeah.
But we're in 2019 right now.
Right. We will make resolutions next year. We're not making them now, but we'll make resolutions next year to bug you about it less for a time until we decide that we want more. And then we'll bug you again.
It's a pendulum.
So, Mark, should we get into the topic at hand? Or should we explain the topic at hand and
Yeah.
then get into it?
Sure.
Okay, so we
should let people know as early as possible if they want to turn this episode off.
Right. Okay, well, let's at least make them listen to the transition music first. Today we are doing our 2019 in games that we played. So we have, documents that are our show notes for every week, and every week we write out what we've been playing. So there is this strange historical record of what games we have either been playing or said that we have been playing.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys are like us, but we found when we were even just talking about what we want to do for a year-end wrap-up that the beginning of 2019
seems so far away.
Yeah, and I can't even remember what I was playing. Right? Because they're just so we just go through, there are just so many games.
Yeah. So many games. And I mean, also, not for nothing, but January 2019 was a long time ago. So, and we're not playing games that are from that moment either. We're playing games from earlier back. So we're going to go through here. We're going to talk about all the games that we played, and what our thoughts are on them now and all that kind of good stuff. So going back to January 2019, first game on our list here, Snipperclips. Do you think you were playing this, or do you think I was playing this?
I wonder if we both played it over the holidays.
I mean, I don't think that I did because I played Snipperclips hard and heavy when it first came out and then laid off it.
Oh yeah, I think it was probably like I brought my Switch with me when I was visiting family and we pulled out Snipperclips for the first time. It was the first time I had played with 4 people. Normally I just played with 2.
Oh, yeah.
Man, it's such a good game. I never picked up the DLC for it. I still haven't finished like all the puzzles
Yeah.
in the game in general, but every time I do play it, it's such a treat.
That is one where I did pick up the DLC and never played it. That's one that maybe I'll get back to it this Christmas.
Yeah, that would be super fun. I'm interested to see if like the puzzles are just like more of the same, which would not be a bad thing, or if they get more like devious.
Yeah.
Because some of them are so hard. Like
It's
some of
so
them
hard.
where you're like the ones that are so memorable to me are when you are trying to like get the egg from one side to the other.
Yes, into the little nests.
Yeah, and you're and like if the eggs like fall too hard or if they hit a like sharp edge, they will crack and you have to start all over. And when there's 4 of you like rotating to try to like
all trying to be
conveyor
so
belt it
careful.
over.
Yeah.
It's such a fun game.
That also on this list in the beginning of January are Firewatch and Katamari Damacy. Those are both Mark games.
Yeah, one was a recommendation from listener Katie. She recommended Firewatch. And it's interesting, at the time I liked it, but I think my esteem for it has kind of like grown with distance.
That you like it more?
Yeah.
With time?
I think just because it's so I think when I was playing it I didn't really know what to expect, and so I kept waiting for it to be something different.
Yeah.
Like I kept waiting for it to like kick into a different gear or something like that, but that's really not the point of the game. It's just really beautiful and it's really interesting, and I generally don't think stories in games are very good, but this one had really left like an impression on me for ways that I don't even entirely now can't really like explain.
That's cool. That's really interesting.
And then Katamari Damacy, friend of the show, June, let me borrow his copy. Man, I just love this game. I mean, a song from it ended up in our tournament for best Nintendo music. It's so weird. But it's really joyful. It's the first time that it's shown up on a Nintendo platform, but it kind of feels like an easy fit.
Yeah, I mean, and I found playing Katamari on in handheld mode felt really natural. Like there's something about having the system and like your hands close to your face that it felt more, because it's got these weird like almost tank controls.
Mhm.
I mean, not quite. It's a little bit more awkward than that, but having it close to my face felt more natural. Like with Snake Pass way back in the day. Also on the list here is Guacamelee 2, which I know I played right at the end of last year and the beginning of 2019. And Guacamelee 2 is awesome. I mean, it's just about as good as the first one. And all like the new powers and power-ups. Like it's just a perfect combination of locomotion and attack. Like that every new move that you learn to punch dudes is also a new move to like get you across the map. And it also was way more like subdued in its humor. It would still, because the first Guacamelee is great, but it really relied a lot on like sort of meme humor, and like jokes that are very like internet and like so dated at this point. And with the exception of one area in Guacamelee 2 that's doing it like intentionally, the humor in this was like more grounded and like real and cool and fun. So I love that game, and I haven't heard anything about a Guacamelee 3 or even what Drinkbox is as a studio is up to since they put that game out. Drinkbox, where you at?
Also, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, which at this point was probably maybe a month old at most.
Yes, that's right.
It's so interesting how quickly I've just taken this game for granted.
Totally.
Like it's remarkable that it exists.
Yes.
It's remarkable, and like everything they add to it is a new miracle. But it just feels like the Smash Brothers game.
Totally.
That it's like basically replaced every other Smash Brothers game in my mind. I don't know. It just seems like it's always going to be there. It's like a cornerstone of video games.
Totally. And especially for the Switch, like Smash and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe are two that I'm just like, if you have the Switch, I don't know why they wouldn't be in your library. They're kind of perfect
Yeah, I
games.
don't really know what the next iteration of either of those.
Yeah, totally.
look
Where do
like.
you go from here? I mean,
Yeah.
like, yeah, where? Because also they are such like iterative games that don't change too much from entry to entry, and they're both just so big and so feature complete. And Smash, we continue to get more characters. So like, yeah, I mean, this if we end up doing the same exercise next year, Smash is going to be on there again. And we won't mention Smash every time every time it comes up. But also in January, you're playing Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu.
No, I got
Eevee.
Eevee. Yeah. Man, I really liked that game. It's I'm surprised how much I like Sword and Shield, because at the time I was like, Pokemon Let's Go is the Pokemon game for me.
Mhm.
I liked the catch mechanic more than I like the catch mechanic in older games.
Yeah.
I like that you could see all the Pokemon, so like it eliminated random battles. And I think actually maybe going through Let's Go, which I would love if they did like another Let's Go with like the second generation or something.
Yeah.
But I think for me, Sword and Shield shines like in contrast to it, because they took all of the elements or most of the elements that I liked in Let's Go, but they really de-emphasized the Gen 1 Pokemon.
Yeah.
And it's like I enjoyed that part of Let's Go, and I'm glad that, I don't have to repeat that in Sword and Shield. It feels like such like a new experience.
Yeah, that's so interesting that like those two games came out a year apart from each other, and one of them features exclusively Gen 1 Pokemon, and the other one, it like really pushes them to the back. That's really like a smart design choice, and one that I don't think I really thought about until this very moment, that it sort of requires you to have just played with all of Gen 1 and to then be like, I mean, not that it requires you to have both experiences, but that if for Pokemon completionists, that is part of the journey, is like, let's remember, let's celebrate Gen 1, and then, all right, now forget it. We're moving on to new stuff.
Yeah, like I genuinely don't think that I've encountered a Pikachu in Sword and Shield yet.
I have a Pikachu.
Yeah, I'm not sure that I do, but I don't really miss it.
Also in January, we were playing New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. You and I got together and played it together, right?
Did we with Deluxe? I can't remember, because I know we played the Wii U version.
We did, because we played the Luigi version of it, right?
Well, I mean, that's also included on the Switch version. I honestly can't remember. I think for me that's maybe part of the problem with New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe. And since Super Mario, anytime now I have the itch for like a 2D Mario, there's the NES Switch Online and Super Mario World and like Yoshi's Island. Like that itch is scratched in a way that I don't really feel. I haven't felt the need to go back to U, even though I don't think it's a bad game.
And I'm almost more importantly, at this time I was also playing Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, which I never got on the Switch, but I was playing it on the Wii U, and I was making a point to play the game as completion-y as possible, so I wouldn't move on from a level until I had collected all of the everything, right? There are like medals and puzzle pieces and all that kind of stuff, and Tropical Freeze is such a better game than New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, or even New Super Mario Bros. U, that like they really don't compare. If you want a like fun action platformer, play Donkey Kong. Don't play New Super Mario Brothers. And you can do that multiplayer as well.
Yeah, and with like an easy mode, right? Because like the New
if
Super Mario
playing
Brothers
on Switch, yeah,
you're right. New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe introduced Princess Toadette, Peachette.
Yep.
And which is kind of like a riff
how
on like
dare
Funky
you
Kong.
forget Peachette?
Well, I mean, the most important thing to come out of that really was Bowsette.
Well, yeah, of course.
Well, then we learned that Luigi can't wear the crown.
even though he badly wants to.
Also, you were playing Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, which kind of makes you a little bit of a unicorn.
That's
we
right.
learned that like
they've
11,000 people
Yeah, that's
bought
right.
that game.
That's right. No one bought that game, but I did. And I played it for maybe 5 or 6 hours and enjoyed my time with it. Definitely shouldn't have spent $40 to get it. But it is a competent remake of that game and is still a delightful, cute time. Also during this time, I am playing the aforementioned Fork Parker's Crunch Out. Mark, what do you think Fork Parker's Crunch Out is? Do you remember
Okay,
this
so
at all?
This was a something you had kickstarted.
No, close.
It came with something else that you bought.
No, kind of. So I was donating to a charity that raises awareness for like crunch in the games industry. And along with it came this Super Nintendo game, a new Super Nintendo game called Parker's Crunch Out, where you play the role of Fork Parker, who poorly manages a video game studio, and you need to stress out all your workers. And it's kind of like a top-down game where you are bringing people coffee and you're like trying to stop like bugs from getting to them.
Oh yeah, and making sure like the servers don't fry or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. So a really abysmal game, and but it's always fun to have a new Super Nintendo cart,
And for a good cause.
and for a good cause as well. So that was our January in video games. We did it. We've done the whole thing. Moving on to February.
Yeah, so this was when I started revisiting Super Mario Odyssey. It's a game that obviously I had played in 2017 when it came out, and liked it, but I...
Oh, that's right. There was a whole like reckoning here,
yeah,
right?
like it was... now I can't even really remember. I think I was missing the course-based Mario, and really was like wanted another Galaxy game at the time. I can't even really remember why I felt so strongly about it. And I think it was because I played Odyssey wrong. I think what you really need to do is just like get through the story and then
100%.
return to the different kingdoms instead of trying to like be a completionist in the kingdoms as you do them.
Right, because when you get through the main story, each of the kingdoms gets like another, like doubles the amount of moons that's in them. So like if you really scour the surface of New Donk City the first time you're there, you get to really scour the surface of it again later.
I also think you just get better at platforming
Yeah.
as you like go through it. And so some of the more frustrating ones earlier just become less frustrating because it's easier for you to tackle them. But man, Super Mario Odyssey is a joy.
Yeah, that's a wonderful game. Also around this time, the Piranha Plant came to Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. So we, or at least
The first DLC character.
first DLC, the kind of like zero DLC character, like not part of the season pass. We were also playing Super Mario Land 2 6 Golden Coins in preparation for the month of March when Mark was gone and we were doing weird retro sequels. That was such a fun surprise of like all these games.
Oh, totally.
What a cool game. And then I was still playing Tropical Freeze, and then Wargroove, which is, I have a note on here, but I just only started it. I don't think I ever really moved past the point of having just started it. Like I checked back in with it a month later when the patch came out that like made some improvements, and like played through one battle and was like, oh, this is better, and then stopped.
Well, I kind of had the same experience with Majora's Mask 3D.
Yeah.
So I picked it up, and I got as far as about to enter Snowhead Temple, and I never picked it up ever again.
So Majora's Mask, especially, on the 3DS is really the only place where I've dug into it. That is also, like, I've gotten through the Snowhead Temple, and that is also kind of where I stopped too. I got stressed out by it because I knew that I could save the Gorons from their snowy peak and get the stuff that I needed from them. But then as soon as I reset the timer, I had no longer helped my friends, and I felt terrible about it. What kept you from going back to Majora's Mask?
I think part of it was that it was on the 3DS, and then I like
Great point.
left it for a period of time while I was traveling, and then just like never really came back to it. Which I would. It is one of those games I would like to revisit. I like Majora's Mask. I liked the 3D version. I liked some of the changes they made to the controls and to the bosses and
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. Like, I do think it's an improved version on the N64, but it's really, especially now, super hard for me to play games on the 3DS.
Yeah, with a few exceptions that'll show up here in just a little bit. It was hard to play games on the 3DS in 2019, right?
Yeah.
Because like it feels too small, it feels too grainy, and you just want to play games on your Switch. Speaking of games that we could finally play on our Switch for the first time, Final Fantasy IX I picked up at around this time and really, really loved getting back into it for just like the first couple hours. And then like kind of hit a wall when the game like opens up and is like, okay, you've met all four of the initial characters. Now like go on the actual journey. And I was like, I don't know how much of this I have in me. The game has such a weird balance between the improvements they make to the models of the main characters and how all of the backgrounds are not touched up and just still look bad, still look the way they did on the original PlayStation. And also there was that bug where the overworld music started over every time you got into a fight, so you heard the same like kind of music sample, the same like 17 seconds of music over and over and over and over again.
It does sound fun though to revisit the first few hours of that game.
Yeah,
Because I really have fond memories of that game.
first few hours of that game are beautiful. This February is also the month where Tetris 99 comes out.
Another game that just feels like it's always been there.
It does. Tetris 99, again, just to remind everyone, came out this year, which means, of course, it is the best game of the year. I don't believe in game of the year, but Tetris 99 is the game of the year.
We were also playing Zoda's Revenge and Castlevania 2 Simon's Quest around this time.
Yeah, that's true. And
It was the first time I'd played Zoda's Revenge.
yeah, and that game doesn't super hold up.
No.
There are a lot of problems with Zoda's Revenge. But Castlevania 2 was fun.
With a guide.
Oh, yeah, definitely with a guide. Mark, you were also playing Steins Gate Elite.
Mm-hmm. Which is like a visual novel based on the Steins Gate manga that is also an anime. So I liked the characters for the most part, but I dropped off because I just couldn't reconcile. I just couldn't really handle. There's like one character who I don't even know that you would say is like trans, but is like their gender identity is in question.
Mm-hmm.
And they're treated so poorly by the main character in the game that it just kind of made me feel gross. And so I like kind of looked online to see,
does this get better?
right, or does
Yeah.
it pay off? Like, is there a point to it? And there didn't really seem like there was, so I just ended up dropping it.
And then we move into March, which is a little bit weird because Mark was gone for the month of March. So these are all going to be games that either I played or our guest played. So Deltarune Chapter 1, Deltarune being the follow-up to, what's the name of that game?
Undertale,
exactly. Which Deltarune was neat. You're paired up with a bully character, so you're like going through and you can like try and play a pacifist run of this like RPG, but the bully character like will fight everyone and deals way too much damage. And I remember having a really nice time with it, and I don't really know why I didn't go back to like play more of it. I don't know if other chapters have been
I don't
released at
think
this
so.
point.
Yeah.
That's weird because it's been almost a year at this
Mhm.
point. Also Ape Out came out in March, and Ape Out, did we ever play Ape Out together?
I don't think so.
Oh man, Ape Out is dope. It's so cool, and you're just a monkey like ripping through an office building, and
It's like top down, right?
yeah, it's like 100% top down. Like most top down games are really like a little bit isometric, or like the camera's pulled a little bit so you can like see the side of the character. But this is like you're just looking down at the broad shoulders of a gorilla who's pissed off. And like the soundtrack to the game is so good because it's just like improvised jazz drumming that builds as you go throughout the level, and like it seems timed to your actions. So like it'll pick up speed as you pick up speed. There'll be like cymbal crashes as you throw someone against a wall and they just splatter. Super fun game. And then we also had Matt Acevedo on, who was playing Starlink Battle for Atlas, which was a couple months after the game had come out. And he was having a really good time with it then. What else is happening in March?
WarioWare Gold?
Yes. So in March, I went to Chicago for C2E2, and I just brought my 3DS. I didn't bring my Switch. So I played an awful lot of WarioWare Gold on the 3DS, and also Super Mario 3D Land, also on the 3DS. Both wonderful games. Super Mario 3D Land, just like Super Mario 3D World, does not get enough of enough attention as like examples of really good Mario games and like a really great genre of Mario game.
So I played Super Mario 3D Land on my trip a little bit. I had brought my 3DS with me, not my Switch, and I had a hard time getting into it, and I don't know if it was because I liked what I played, and so again, I don't know if it's just the curse of the 3DS.
The curse of the 3DS.
Honestly, at this point, I have a really hard time playing games like that close to my face.
Yeah. Were you playing with a 3D on? Do you recall?
I think I did have it on, at least for part of it, because I vaguely recalled reviews when the game came out talking about how like it was a 3DS game that really utilized the 3D well.
Yeah, I mean, because there were a lot of like the game would trick you, like it would show you things that if you weren't looking at it in 3D, you would perceive one way, and if it was in 3D, you would perceive
like
it another
looked
way.
like you were like blocked or something, and then when you turned on the 3D, you saw that there was like space behind it.
Yeah, you know those
like
puzzles where you're like, is it an old crone or a young lady? Is it a rabbit or a duck? It's just like that, except 3D versus not 3D. Yeah, so I mean, we're just sort of casually sliding into April here, which is when you came back. So it's more interesting for us to talk about it. This is also when Yoshi's Crafted World came out, and I was lucky enough to have my friend Taylor in town when the game came out, and we played through the majority of that game co-op, and I just had a wonderful, beautiful, fun and funny time playing that game, getting drunk in the middle of the day, and playing a game maybe meant for children, but also which includes that scary clown level.
Yeah, very surprising level. Also in April, Super Mario Maker you were playing?
I was playing Super Mario Maker, and the timing on this is a little weird because it's like a month and a half after the announcement of Super Mario Maker 2 and about 2 months before Super Mario Maker 2 actually came out. So I think I was just getting like the hankering for some level creation. And also it hasn't happened too much in the last like 6 months or so. But I was going through a phase here where I was interested in turning the Wii U on and playing with it, because I do think it is a not unfairly maligned console, but like an overly maligned piece of equipment. Like the gamepad is an interesting way to interface with games, especially Super Mario Maker. And I think that's the thing that at this point I was starting to get worried about how the sequel would actually function. Just because, tapping on that thing is so easy and so intuitive and so nice for creation. But, it's the creation tools in Mario Maker 2 are golden.
April was also when I started playing Katana Zero, which, yeah, I really, really, really liked that game a lot. I feel like we're still waiting on a piece of DLC from it because there's...
Yeah, we are.
Like, in Katana Zero, you can open certain, like, doors at the very end, and there's one that you just, like, cannot open.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, like, DLC that we haven't gotten yet. That actually makes me excited. I forgot about that.
There you go. You got more Katana Zero to play. This is also as I was playing Cuphead. We both had like our separate challenging platformers or like action platformers. Cuphead, man, crazy that this thing ended up coming to Switch.
Yeah.
And what a beautiful game. It's too hard, which is why I stopped.
But you were like really into the
I
grind
was
for a while.
really into the grind for a while. Like where it was like, okay, I'm just gonna play this level over and over again for like 2 hours. But there were some that I just like couldn't wrap. Some boss fights I couldn't really wrap my head around. Like there's one. It's like an actor or an actress on a stage. Where like there were 2 different paths through it depending on like what happens in like the individual stages of the fight. Like different scenes play out. Which was really, really cool. And I was super excited when I realized there were multiple paths that you could take it down. But it was just too hard and I decided to stop playing.
It was also around this time that Super Mario Brothers: The Lost Levels came to the NES Switch Online.
Yeah.
And that is a hard game made significantly easier with like the save states and rewind controls.
Oh, yes. Were we able to rewind at this point? Do you remember?
I don't think so because I don't think so. I think that got introduced with the SNES Online and then later added to the NES Online.
Yeah.
But I can't remember for sure. But you could definitely use save states.
Oh boy, could you. This is also when Box Boy and Box Boy plus Box Girl came out. Another just like, well, I guess just another Box Boy game, right? Like it doesn't really get past being a Box Boy game, which is a fun game, right?
It is a fun game. I never played it in co-op, and in order to actually like finish the story, you have to play in co-op.
Oh, that's right.
And so I never went back and did that.
Yeah, me neither. Should we go back and do that?
I feel like we should at some point because I really like these games.
Yeah,
and
me too.
I had fun with this one as well.
All right, let's move into May, which looks like a lot of the same stuff.
We played the Castlevania collection at this time because we were getting ready to rank the Castlevania games on the Castlevania collection.
Right, not all the Castlevania games.
And so that's when both of us were introduced to Kid Dracula for the first time.
Kid Dracula. Look, Kid Dracula, I think we ranked it too low on our list. I don't remember what it was, but whatever it was too low.
Well, and I think
there's a game show part of that game
See,
where the Statue of Liberty asks you questions about the game that you've played so far.
Yeah, I didn't make it that far, and so I think the reason it kind of like evened out was because you were really high on it, and I didn't feel it as strongly.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's a fun collection, right?
That is a really fun collection. There's like a lot of love put into it. Like if you're interested in Castlevania, the like emulation and controls and all of that, like the scrubbing and all that is like very bare bones.
Yeah.
But if you just want to pour over like histories of the games, it's really interesting.
Plus, if you're not ranking all of them, you don't have to play the Game Boy ones at all. except for wait, was no, I guess Kid Dracula was an NES game, right? Yeah. Okay.
Yep. Also at this time I tried the alternate Jake Hunter what is this, Daedalus? I never got it right.
Yeah.
The Awakening of Golden Jazz demo, which is like a point and click adventure game.
Great. This, speaking of pointing and clicking, this is when I discovered Picross. This is an era that I delved into. So I started with the Pokemon Picross, which I already had on my 3DS. And I guess I don't... Oh, this is when I was going down to San Diego a lot. So I would go on the train and, I was already traveling with like my computer and like some other stuff. So I wanted to travel light. And so the 3DS came with me more frequently than the Switch did. And so I started playing Pokemon Picross, which was already on my 3DS because I had just like, there were a handful of like free Pokemon games that I picked up at some point, and like figured out how to play Picross and started to really get into it and was asking, put out a call on the show for like, hey, what are the Picross games that I need to play?
And by the way, that's always an open call. What Picross game should we be playing?
What Picross game should we be playing? So I guess maybe we should hit all the Picross games that I hit up at around this time. I was playing Pokemon Picross. I played the Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess Picross, which was only available by getting silver coins on My Nintendo. You can't buy it. You have to use silver coins, and it's such a good version of the game. It has like a Mega Picross. No, not the Mega Picross. The one where it's like a lot of images together into like one. Mega Picross is a different thing together, which is not fun. And then I was also playing Picross 3D 2, which part of the reason I got that one instead of the first one was there was a My Nintendo reward again for like silver coins where you could get the whole thing for like 40% off or something like that. But man, do I love Picross. It's so good and so fun. The other night, I couldn't sleep. I just like came back out in the living room and the 3DS was out here. And I opened it up and played a couple of 3D Picross puzzles and was like, oh, yeah, this is amazing. My brain's on fire. I'm never going to sleep again.
Well, also at the end of May, sliding right into June, Resident Evil 4 was released for the Switch.
Yeah, you bet.
Oh, man, is that a beautiful game.
Yeah. Yep. You played all the way through it at that point.
I did, yeah. And at the end, I tried to go through like the Ada Wong stuff that had been created for the PS2. And that I had a really hard time getting into and never finished it. It definitely felt kind of like a tacked on side thing, but it is hard to find fault with Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, and did you play it all on TV, like, and take it with you at all or anything?
I didn't really take it with me. I played a little bit in handheld mode, but it looked really good on TV.
June is also when the Collection of Mana came out. Like it came out during E3, right?
Right.
This is June. It was E3, so there was like a whole week here where we didn't have a what we were playing section. But the Collection of Mana was something I was so excited about because I really, really wanted to play Trials of Mana. But
which is the third
one. It was never localized. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. But I sunk all of my time with that collection into the original Legend of Mana, aka Final Fantasy Adventure, on the Game Boy. I was this is the opposite of the Castlevania collection. The Game Boy game was the one I wanted to play more than anything. I think I spent like 10 or 12 hours playing that game and just felt like a kid and loved it.
I feel like it's a dichotomy that we face a lot. Like I talked about it when I was playing Pokemon and Super Mario World. Like trying to decide which one I wanted to play. When our game time is so limited, like sometimes it's really hard not to like replay the thing we know and love.
Yeah, it's hard to not just take the dopamine hit.
Yeah.
Like, when it's a guaranteed thing, you're going to have fun and you're going to remember. Holy cow, remembering. Remembering so good. There should be a game that's just you remembering stuff. It'd be a #1 bestseller every month in the year 2019. This is also when Sarah and I embark on another playthrough of Super Mario 3D World and get ourselves to the Champions Road, which is the final level way beyond where the game pretends to end, like 5 worlds past that, to this challenge that Sarah and I were unable to get through before. In any of the many times that we've played this game, to what we assumed was like the limits of reasonable playtime. And we were like, okay, we're just going to do it. We're going to like buckle down and we're going to play this one level for literally hours. And we're going to play it together. She is Rosalina, me as Luigi. And just figure out the timing on all, because there are these sections where it's like timed platforms disappearing and you have to make they're obviously not pixel perfect jumps because we're not really dealing with pixels, but like the perfect performances in these levels to get anywhere near it, and you need to beat it with all 5 characters, and we just did it. Like and it was and it felt great. We lost 2 consecutive weekends to just doing this, and when it was finally done, it felt so good. I guess the one super sad thing is that then we have no more Super Mario 3D World. There is no unattained part of it out there anymore. But man, did it feel good to get there.
That's really cool. You have to do it with all 5 characters?
Well, so when you beat it with one of the characters, you get like a little like stamp that is that character. So if you don't have all 5 characters, you're missing something.
Oh man.
So yeah, and we basically cheated that because we the first time we beat it, the first time we like got to the flagpole, we paused the game. got two Wii remotes, tried to connect them to the Switch. Only one of them would connect, and we're like, okay, great. Well, Mario's joining us in this one. So the first time we beat it was
That's so smart.
a Ghost Mario, Rosalina, and Luigi, and the second time was Rosalina and Luigi, a Ghost Toad, and then Rosalina, Luigi, and a Ghost Princess.
That's so smart, but also impressive that you were able to do it 3 times. Was it easier like the second and third time? Because you had like the routine down.
They came in weirdly quick succession after that. Like the first one we did, and then like maybe the second one came 20 minutes later, and then I want to say even the attempt after that second one, we did it again. Man, those are like the gaming moments where it's like no other experience with no other like art form feels that same way of like we accomplished something, which I know is silly. We didn't accomplish anything.
I mean,
we added a couple stamps
Yeah.
to a thing. We changed some zeros to some ones, and had a wonderful time.
Moving into July, this was when I picked up Rain City, which is a I believe Japanese developed like adventure game, kind of like point and click adventure game that takes place in one of my favorite settings, which is any place where it's raining.
That's right.
It's really beautiful. It's kind of like a children's book illustration. I never finished it. It felt a little like samey
This
as
is
I
a
got
common
like further
refrain
into.
from us.
I mean, there's really no reason to qualify it. Like there are tons of games in here that we never entirely finished. But I think it was like less than $8. I really enjoyed my time with it. It's a really fun idea. It's predicated on like this mystery of like what happened to your sister, but you're like a cat. It's great.
Ooh.
I mean, you're wearing clothes. You know, it's
Oh.
it's
So not like the cats from Cats.
no.
They don't wear clothes. Super Mario Maker
I mean,
2.
some of them wear clothes.
Do they?
I'm pretty
Like a hat?
No, I'm pretty sure that James Corden's cat is like wearing spats. Pretty sure.
Super Mario Maker 2 also came out in July. And I don't know. I tore through the story mode in that. Like, really loved it, and like got maxed that thing out.
I thought it was such a smart way to introduce people to concepts because I didn't really use the builder tools very often, but I really I did feel sparks of inspiration from like those the levels. They usually weren't that long. They were pretty short, but they had really cool mechanics that I think did such a nice job of being like, ooh, I could use that idea, or I could like take that idea and do something else with it.
Tons of fun with that game, and that's another one where it was like something like a month later where I was looking back on my playtime, and it was like 50 or more hours, and I was like, oh God, when did I sink all of that time into Super Mario Maker 2? And I think some of that is because I did spend a fair amount of time in the building tools and just playing levels here and there. And this is also when we started asking for listeners to send in their levels, which is always fun. And even though we've stopped asking for it, if you send them in, we will play them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think was this around the time that Labo VR came out?
I think so, yes. Because we picked up the Labo VR set and had a hard time figuring out what to say about it.
Yes. Yeah, it was a real struggle. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3 was released in July, a game that I said another one where I played in it, liked it, but never like completed it.
Is that still the case that like you just play?
Yeah, I haven't like returned to it because I mean around this time Fire Emblem 3 Houses came out like a week later.
Okay, let's not get ahead of ourselves. So also Astral Chain came out right around the same time
in
right?
August.
that neither of us picked up.
Right.
And Astral Chain and Marvel Ultimate Alliance are two like basically first party Nintendo releases that I feel like I need to get to at some point. Like they're Nintendo games. They're high profile, big Nintendo games.
Ultimate Alliance, I think, would be fun to play together.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we had a really nice time playing Diablo 3, which I guess was over a year ago at this point because it doesn't appear on this list. Mark, what is time?
Also, around this time, we were doing our Donkey Kong 3 tournament.
Oh yeah. So we were syncing some real time. This is the problem. So we shouldn't have been making other people and ourselves play Donkey Kong 3. What were we doing, Mark? also at this point played the Messenger DLC Picnic Panic, which was very nice and felt nice and Battletoadsy at some points. And had a really cool like end boss fight, which was basically just like Punch Out. Moving into August,
I mean, Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Fire Emblem Three Houses, and this sort of sets a little bit of a tone for the rest of the year, because I think from August until now, when we're still sort of making our way through it, you and I have been playing and loving Three Houses. Although, did you love it right away, or did you take a little bit?
I think I liked it right away, but it wasn't until a little further on that I like really fell in love with it.
Yeah,
Because I hit a point in the beginning, I was like on autopilot on all the battles.
Yeah.
So for me, it was mostly like the character interactions, and there hit a point further into the story where like I couldn't really just auto battle. I had to do some strategy, and it was like just enough strategy that I was engaged, and that's really when it started clicking for me.
yeah. Also in August here, you played Cadence of Hyrule.
I played the demo for
just
it,
the demo.
and didn't like that one. Also didn't really click for me. I also played Hollow Knight thanks to our listener Martin, who sent us codes for that, and it's really cool. It's another one that I wish I had more time to get into, because it is so demanding of your time. Like, it's very Dark Souls like. It's very grindy. It's very like making a lot of progress and then losing that progress and then going back to like get the progress again. But it's a really cool world. The design is really cool. The mechanics are really good. I found this one with Dark Souls Remastered when that was released on Switch, where it's just like, man, I really like these types of games, but it's hard for me to buckle down and like give myself over to the grind.
Yeah, I mean it is one of those things where like just resolving yourself to like experience the challenge and like do it, like there's such a, I guess it's the difference between like I just want to have the fun good time and like I want to work at something. Sometimes you don't want to work at a game you're playing. What else are we doing in August?
I mean, we haven't really touched on it, but there were like the Tetris Maximus Cups.
Oh,
this was not the first one, but this is they had like a Fire Emblem theme, and that has been such a delight with Tetris 99, is like the different themes you can only get during the Maximus Cups.
Yeah, and that's also been something that was really good at bringing me back to it. As much as I love Tetris 99 and am addicted to playing Tetris, I don't think that I was when it came out and I like started playing it and started being like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this. I like it. But having something to keep coming back to got me sort of in the regular routine of checking in on it. And we're not quite to the point where they release like the tickets and like the DLC.
I mean, it is in September.
Okay,
like, it's just like
Okay, yeah. So that happened in September, and now like there is a reason to play Tetris 99 literally every day, and like a reward for doing it. So yeah, that's September of 2019 is when I like started to lose my mind to Tetris.
It's also when the SNES games came to Switch, which is
it is
remarkable that it's only been since September. I mean,
it's no time.
Yeah, it's only been a few months, but again, it feels like it's been there for so long.
Yeah, feels like it's always been a feature of the Switch. This is also when I picked up the Capcom Beat 'em Up bundle, which is a game I'd been threatening to get for a very long time, but it was on sale or something, so I went and like bit the bullet. And I have since played through all 5 of the games on there, 7 of the games, whatever. I've played through all of them. Many with my buddy Pete when he was out here to visit. And those games are just a like fun fireworks display of like 16-bit sprites and hilarious old sound effects and too much writing in a lot of these games, which is confusing because who's in the arcade like reading the dialogue, like jamming on the A button just to like get through it. But they're great. If that bundle is ever on sale again for like less than like $15, like I recommend people pick it up because they're just fun to play. They're games that would be quarter munchers if you had to put quarters into them, but you don't because it's in your home. You own it.
This is also when the Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening remake was released for Switch.
Oh my god, that's right.
Yeah,
that is a game that I finished in the weekend.
that's amazing.
I picked it up on Friday and was done with it by Monday.
I really, really, really loved this game. At E3, we were a little surprised that Nintendo was positioning it as kind of their minor September title, but I think that made a ton of sense. Like, I really think that was the proper placement for it.
Yeah, I mean, it is funny to see what like the narrative arc of that game was, just like sort of in the world of game players, that we were very excited about it and knew that it was going to be beautiful and sound great, and the game did all of that, but was still very much Link's Awakening. So like if someone didn't want to play that Game Boy game, and we're ragging on Game Boy games a lot in this episode. Also, we played a lot of Game Boy games. Is that weird?
We did.
And so like I think it was still a little bit of a stumbling block for people who weren't quite ready for a game that is that stubbornly like a 1992 game or whatever. But yeah, man, I loved this remake. Had a smile on my face. Was hitting that remember button over and over again, and just really really liked it.
But I also think that it is like, because of the remake, I think it's approachable to new players.
Yeah.
That maybe Legends of Mana isn't. Like,
sure.
Like,
yeah.
somebody picking up Legends of Mana today might run up against its limitations pretty quickly. Whereas I think the Link's Awakening remake does a really good job of, I don't know, like remaking itself for modern players.
Well, like painting over those the limitations, which still become like hyper evident in the last like 3 dungeons,
For sure.
which are like total slogs. The last 2 for sure. But yeah, I mean, even during those slogs, like it was beautiful, and I was having a wonderful time.
In October, Mario Kart Tour was released.
Wow.
Which I was playing fairly often, was definitely logging in every day to try to get those gems. Never really got a great set of racers that I felt super good about.
Yeah, what characters do you have? Just like Toadette.
Yeah, I have I think Toadette was the one of the first racers that I got.
Yeah.
And so she was my like highest leveled racer for so long that you kind of like end up, at least for me, like having to favor those in order to like get the points you need to get all the stars and like all that kind of
cycle.
stuff. But I liked Mario Kart Tour for what it was, and it allowed me to like experience some of the Mario Kart stuff that I haven't for a really long time, like some of the levels from the DS or 3DS or something like that. This is also when Luigi's Mansion 3 was released.
Yeah. So and also when we got to go to that cool event for it.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah, love Luigi's Mansion 3. Although that's not really towards that's the end of the month.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
The very end of the month. Prior to that, of course, Dragon Quest XI's Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition for the Nintendo Switch came out, and I bought it, and Mark, that was the beginning of something special for me. And I'm still in it now, still feeling very special and very good about that game. It was one that took me a second to like really dig into, but again, through having a friend in town for the weekend, like it was a Monday where we had plans to do something, but Sarah like got sick, and so she was like, "I'm staying home. I'm staying in bed." And Andrew and I were like, "Well, you want to play video games all day?" And we were like, "Yeah, great." And so we played Dragon Quest for like 8 hours, and that got me over the hump to the point where like, well, suddenly I love it. And that's where I've been since.
And you and I also got together a weekend in October and played some older games. Like we played Secret of Evermore, which was the first time for me to see that like made in the US, right? Sequel to the Secret of Mana.
Yeah. I mean, semi-sequel, yeah.
Yeah.
Spiritual sequel. Yeah, there was something that happened with the game where like we did just like crash on us, or there
yeah,
was something that
like
happened
that.
where we just had to like stop playing. And
But it was a good opportunity because we jumped right to your save file,
yes,
which was like at the end of the game.
yes, and then beat the game.
We also played Super Star Wars at that time, kind of to just
yeah.
refresh our memory of how absolutely bonkers that game is.
Also, for anyone wondering, yes, level 3 of Super Star Wars is exactly the same as episode 2 of The Mandalorian. It is identical.
It is kind of spooky.
It is. It is. Okay, now we can get to Luigi's Mansion 3. I mostly played that game for like a week and maybe a week or two, and then kind of fell off of it.
Yeah, I really, really, really liked it. But I haven't finished it either. A familiar refrain, but part of it for me was like, when you and I played together in co-op, that was the most fun I had with it.
Totally.
And it was also way later in the game than I was playing in my solo playthrough.
I ruined the game.
No. So just like the idea of having to like,
I hear what you're saying.
to like go through that stuff again
Yeah.
after I'd already done it and do it by myself, like just was not that appealing to me. I would still like to go back and do the Scare Scraper or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Like multiplayer stuff. That seems like it could be a lot of fun.
This actually is one that we like. I know we've said it now a couple times that like, oh yeah, we should actually play these games co-op. Luigi's Mansion 3 is one that we absolutely should. In November, we also picked up Resident Evil 6 on Switch because we were like, oh, we like Resident Evil. We should play this game co-op. We maybe should have remembered that we tried to play Resident Evil Revelations 2 or 1 or who remembers one of those games together. And we're playing it split screen on my TV, and the way it handles split screen is that it takes like a full screen and like shrinks it down. It's less than half the size, right?
Right. Because they have to like offset them.
Yeah, they have to offset these like wide screens, which just seems like, man, they need a different workaround for it. Because like it's too small. You can't see what's going on.
Yeah, it's just not really made for split screen cup. Like you can do it,
Yeah,
but online or I guess like switch to switch would really be the way.
yeah.
To
also,
handle it.
I mean, I don't know. The gameplay of Resident Evil 6 was,
Yeah, I felt like I had enough.
yeah, in the like 35 minutes we played of it. And also, man, I don't know. A game that looks as good as it does. Having like the presentational like story, like trying to sell you on like its cinematic style, where like the acting and directing and writing is so bad, it's just like it's a huge bummer. A huge bummer.
Yeah, part of the reason we wanted to do it was because Resident Evil 6 has been, as big fans of Resident Evil,
Yeah.
6 was just a huge blind spot for us, and I think it's pretty much going to remain that way for me.
100%. But the point is here that we shouldn't try to play Resident Evil 6 together. We should try to play Luigi's Mansion 3 together.
100%.
What else did we play in November? And then we're not going to do December because December is basically now, and that's...
Yeah, I mean, and to that point, basically, once Pokemon was out, that was a lot of what I continued to play.
Yeah, well, and like I think it is an interesting place that we're in here going into the end of the year and into the beginning of next year. How many super long, super meaty experiences have just sort of stacked up at this point on Nintendo Switch that like we're both still playing Pokemon. I'm playing Dragon Quest,
which I'm like really want to get to, but I promise myself that I can't until I finish Fire Emblem. And I really want to finish Fire Emblem in just a few weeks. Tokyo Mirage Sessions.
Yep.
Sharp FE is released, something that I'm like super curious about. I don't know. It really does feel like there's like a logjam here.
Yeah. Before Tokyo Mirage Sessions comes out, I want to have finished one of these games. I want to have finished Dragon Quest, Pokemon, or Fire Emblem. And I'm probably the closest to finishing Fire Emblem, but it's also been a couple months at this point.
Same.
But yeah, and then Luigi's Mansion 3 is like on top of that is like another game that I want to get back to.
And we'll all only have played one house.
Oh
Fire
my God! All right. Well, let's close out this segment and then pose some questions to our audience. those are the games that we played in 2019. But I'd love to hear, like, what the overall shape of your games were for this year. You can tell from the beginning of the year that we were a lot more kind of scattered, I think, right? That there weren't any huge Nintendo experiences, so we were just sort of grabbing at whatever was there. But it really starts to like even out in the last like quarter of the year, where we're just playing those same 3 games. But yeah, I would love to hear what the shape of everyone else's years were. Did you come to any games super late? Did you play something that we hadn't really talked about here at all? We glossed right over playing the Daemon X Machina demo. Did any of you play the actual game? Because Mark and I sure didn't. It would just be nice to know. So write in if you got them. That's Nintendo Cartridge Society at gmail.com. Mark, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Patrick.
Are you going to miss 2019?
I think I will a little bit.
Yeah, me too. But also, you can't really go back. So you can only hit that remember button so many times. All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Remember, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. If you like the episode, you can share it on Facebook or Twitter. On Twitter, I am at Patrick_Ellers. Mark is at MKE Mitchell, and the show is at NinCart Society. We also have a Facebook page, which is just Nintendo Cartridge Society. Olivia Duncan made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying Happy New Year, and thanks for listening.
Hey, Rachel, Oscar.
Yeah, Claire?
Do you love Disney movies?
Uh-huh.
Have you seen them all?
Not all of them.
What do you guys think if we watch them all in chronological order and then talk about them?
Ooh. Oh, and what if we could talk about it with some of our favorite friends?
I love that.
Yeah, and what if we do it inside the Disney Vault?
That's the name of our podcast, Inside the Disney Vault on Campfire Media.
Yeah, check us out on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to yours.
That's Inside the Disney Vault.
Let's go!
Woo!
Campfire.